I think, P.J. Hall, but really, Ian Shefflin was really, really big for Clemson last night. Double-digit rebounds, a force inside. Thought he was going to be a handful for the Gamecocks. I thought he would be one of the reasons that Clemson would win the game. The Gamecocks just couldn't keep up the early outside hot shooting of Meechie Johnson and others. They gave up too many points in the second half, obviously didn't score as many points in the second half. And outside of Meechie Johnson in the second half, no one else really stepped up to score points for the Gamecocks.
No, they really did. And you're right. I think Ian Shefflin was probably the player of the game. He was fabulous for Clemson on the inside. And I think their strength and size and power down low ultimately got to the Gamecocks. But as I thought, South Carolina played them extremely well defensively, started to wear down, though, in the second half. And when the Gamecocks had that 11-point lead early in the second half, and then Clemson ripped it off and got right back in the game, I thought it was going to be tough and got Little John hopping. That's as good an environment as Clemson basketball has had in a long, long time. And Brad Brownell saying after the ball game last night, they probably don't beat South Carolina if that game is not at home and they don't have a full house. I thought it was a terrific basketball game, a great showcase for our state. And I'll tell you one thing that I thought was interesting too, Phil. Stephen Clark, who has been very sort of underutilized or not talked all that much about with regards to the Gamecocks, I thought he gave them a huge lift last night. I thought he played very well, tried to defend P.J. Hall as best he could. Miles Studi, though, on the flip side, I think really hurt the Gamecocks, did not have a very good ball game, and they needed him to score. And 4 points from him in 24 minutes just wasn't going to be enough. Mack was solid, and Meechie Johnson was as good as he has been the past couple of weeks. I mean, he's on a ridiculous streak with regards to scoring. I mean, he's starting to put up, Devin Downey-type numbers every time he steps on the floor. You can almost expect 25 or so points per ball game. But overall, I just thought it was a terrific display of basketball in South Carolina. It was great to see because we don't get these type games between these two teams all that often, and it was fun to watch going back and forth. If you didn't care who won and you just wanted to watch a really good basketball game, I hope you tuned in last night.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you look at the second half scoring for the Gamecocks, and only two players had more than one basket in the second half. Johnson had 4 baskets. 3 of them were three-pointers. He was 4 for 4 from the line. He had 15 points in the second half alone. So he pretty much single-handedly kept them in the game. You mentioned Stephen Clark. Well, he was 2 for 2. Everybody else was 1 for something. B.J. Mack, 1 for 7. Studi, who did not have a good night, 1 for 3. Cooper was 1 for 2. In other words, they just didn't have enough folks step up in the second half. Right. For South Carolina, just didn't have enough folks step up in the second half and make shots. And then defensively, they broke down. I think like anybody in basketball, if it's not going well for you offensively, you tend to give it up some on the defensive side. And again, the Tigers in the second half in particular, when they came back, look what they had. They had Wiggins scored 13 in the second half. You had Shefflin score 10 points in the second half. Chase Hunter scored 10 points in the second half. They didn't need P.J. Hall to be all that big for them in the second half. He did score 5, but it was other guys that stepped up for them in the second half. The Tigers ended up with a big scoring second half, the most points the Gamecocks have given up in a half this season, the 49 points the Tigers scored last night. So the question becomes now, this Clemson team 8-0. Well, here's the question. Did we see the makings of 2, not just 1, but 2 NCAA tournament teams last night?
Very possible. Very possible. I think Clemson moved up to, I think it was number 2 in the RPI or the net after last night's win. So that gives you an idea of at least early, what the committee or whatever metrics they use, what they see in the Gamecocks. I'm not sure what the Gamecocks sit right now, but I would imagine even at a loss, they probably got a little bit of a bump because they played well on the road against a really good basketball team. But Phil, if those two teams continue to improve from where they are from last night, and especially if the Gamecocks can get a little more well-rounded and extend what they were able to do in the first half into the second half of last night's ball game, they certainly can contend for an NCAA tournament bid. But I would think if you're weighing which one probably has the better pathway, it would be Clemson. I just think they're a little more experienced as a team. South Carolina is going to get more experienced as the games move along, but they've got a lot of guys that are older. They just haven't played all that much together. But I think as the season moves along, we could see potentially, wouldn't that be great, 2 NCAA tournament teams? It has been a long time since we've been able to brag about that.
Well, Shefflin finished with 12 rebounds and 12 points. I mean, that's back-to-back big games for him on the boards after having 17 rebounds last time out. Gerard didn't have a great shooting night, still finished with 12. Wiggins was big for them. His outside shooting, 3 threes. He finished with 15. Hall was a very solid 14 and 8 for them. Tigers kept the turnovers down. Both of them did, 10 and 8 there. Johnson finished with another big night, 26. He has been on such a roll. Let's see, that would be, he had 53 points in his 2 games last week. So at 79 points in 3 games. That's lighting it up. And he's shooting it well, 8 of 16 and 6 of 10 and 4 for 4. And he also had 4 assists, 3 rebounds, but just not enough help in that second half. B.J. Mack finished with 10. Clark finished with 10. Nobody else sniffed double figures for the Gamecocks last night. So
it's a real good learning opportunity for them, though, to go on the road and have to face what normally is not the case, but a very hostile atmosphere last night. And what I was referencing, Tim Beret tweeted out after the game, Clemson second now in the RPI and 17th in the net. And Pat just tells us, according to Warren Nola, USC has moved up to number 9 in the RPI. So if the tournament started this weekend, they'd both be in.
You would think, unless the committee just found a way to leave them out, Florida State,
which happens all the time in our state.
Maybe
keep winning, guys.
A starting guard's going to go down with a broken leg, and they'll say you can't win without this guy. All right, so we got that, and then I guess the other 2 pieces of big news out of Clemson this afternoon. Number one, the biggest piece of news is Barrett Carter is returning for another season at Clemson. The outstanding linebacker has decided to return to school. So that is big for Clemson, considering they're losing Trotter. You got Carter coming back. You got Woodass coming back. You got another Woodass coming in and other linebackers. So that is huge for Clemson. Obviously, 2 things here. Number one, probably didn't hear what he thought he was going to hear about his NFL draft possibilities. And then number 2, Clemson probably made him a very nice deal to stay put. The money, I think Pat was the one who said this way back when. This obviously disagreed with him at the time, but it's proven to be true. You're going to see players deciding to stay in college because they can make good money, maybe not NFL money, but there's no risk here. This is not a risky deal. They're going to make the money by staying put versus risking what their draft situation would be. So that is big news for Clemson.
No, absolutely. And I was stunned when I saw that he was coming back. It really was. I figured for sure. I was surprised he had not announced that he was entering the NFL draft, especially when Jeremiah Trotter came out and said he was going to. But yeah, that's a huge get considering some of the guys that Clemson is losing off that defensive side. Yeah.
The other piece of news reported by the Clemson Insider, Levon Kirkland is joining the Clemson coaching administration, not the on-field staff, but he's joining the Clemson coaching the staff in some way, in some capacity. They didn't spell out exactly what he's going to do, but he is, going to have a role, probably, I don't know, as an analyst maybe or consultant or something with the Clemson football program. So there's another experienced head, NFL star, still a name that resonates with young kids, I would imagine, those who see big number 99 with the Steelers. He's not that far removed where kids have forgotten about him. So that would be, I think, a nice addition to what Dabo Swinney has inside his coaching room.
And he would be a great motivational speaker for them. He's an outstanding person and maybe one of the better players still on that team. Whatever role he has in terms of the coaching staff. So, yeah, when you can add former players that have been in the NFL that guys can look up to and understand, hey, if I go to the school X, they can get me to the NFL. It can't do anything but but help your staff. And especially with the size of, Power 5 coaching staffs now, you can virtually hire anybody you want. They just don't necessarily have to be on the field, but they can be around the building and do other things within the program.
All right, and let's see.
Real quick before we move on, just a bit more information, and I appreciate you throwing that out there. I had mentioned NIL. Another one of the positives people may not think about is you could see enticement for players to stay, and I'm with you. I totally think that's what's happening here. So, for example, I was looking up the most recent information I could find for Barrett Carter's current projections. Again, these are all just projections, but for the NFL draft. Looks like round 2 or 3. I'm looking back at last year's NFL draft. There were 3 linebackers taken in the first round, none in the second. So this isn't going to be an exact apples to apples. But in the third round, there were 1, 2, 3, 4. There were 6 linebackers taken in the second round, and they were ranging from the highest ranked of those was Drew Sanders, who went to the Broncos, and he was getting, let's see here, his guaranteed. So keep in mind, the guaranteed amount was going to be $750,000 for his rookie year. It would then jump up to basically $1 million his next year. Where I'm going with that is if you're somebody like a Barrett Carter, that gives you kind of a price point there. And he could potentially come back to college, say he gets anywhere in the ballpark. We have no idea if this is what's happening, but just theoretically, if he gets anywhere in the ballpark of that $750K to stay at Clemson, he could come back, assuming stay healthy. I'm sure he would get a big insurance policy, but if he could stay healthy, he may project himself up into the first or second round to where then you're talking about $5-10+ million guaranteed as opposed to $750K. So I think you're going to see a lot of these players taking that into account, having conversations with their family, their agent, and so forth, and trying to figure out what's best for their future.
Yeah, absolutely. Good points. All right, a few other quick notes. In our phone number, 888-898-2525. You want to jump on board before we get to Mike Morgan at the bottom of the hour? Feel free to do so. But a few other notes of the day. The other big story, talked about Barrett Carter and what's happening at Clemson, but the other big story of the day is that South Carolina State has hired Chennis Berry as your new head football coach, replacing the retiring Buddy Pugh. Berry comes from Benedict College, where he turned the Tigers into in his 3 years there, went 27-7, 22-2 in the last 2 years, making the Division II playoffs. So he walked into a situation that was poor, and he leaves it in great shape. So he is headed to South Carolina State to be their new head coach. That is probably one of the worst kept secrets in the history of coaching searches. And this was expected really from the get. He was thought to be the guy the South Carolina State would eventually hire. And so they did. Also, State is hiring Nathan Cochran, one of their former football players, to be their new athletics director. He has been at Walsh University in Ohio. Then across the street from Benedict, Allen University, their head football coach, Teddy Keaton. He's left to go to Clark Atlanta University. He restarted the Yellow Jackets program in 2018 and led them through the transition from NAIA to Division II. He had his best season this season with that team going 7-3. But I will tell you, being over there every year to interview him during our August tour and seeing where they were at the beginning and where they were at the end, what a distance they traveled. Keeping in mind, this is a school that up to now has a practice field that's about 50 yards long and maybe 45 yards wide. And it's the front yard of a dorm with a goalpost. And now they did put down artificial turf before this past season, so they would have that to practice on. But you talk about making the most of everything that you had to work with. That is what they did. Now, Allen is supposedly going to build their own stadium on Two Notch Road, a few miles from their campus. So that would be a big boost for them. But now they have to find themselves a coach, and good luck, unless they promote from within, good luck finding somebody like Teddy Keaton, who not only did a good job in his own right, but he brought in some impressive assistant coaches, some former NFL guys to be on his staff. So Allen is looking, and Benedict is looking, and South Carolina State has filled their position. And they've got a good guy, Chennis Berry, taking over for Buddy Pugh. Let's see. Michigan is working on a new deal for Jim Harbaugh, trying to keep him from thinking about going to the NFL. They're talking about a contract extension up to $11 million per year for 5 years. The last hurdle is a written commitment from Harbaugh that he will not pursue the NFL after this season. You think he'll do that?
Ooh. I think you'd be a fool to do that. So you don't want to pigeonhole yourself into a corner. But I think if I'm Michigan, part of my contract, I don't do it in years. I figure out how many games he has to coach to get that money because he keeps getting suspended for games. So I'm going to look and say, all right, he's got to coach in 13 games this year. He's got to make sure he coaches in 14 games next year. I'm not doing years. He's got to coach X number of games because sooner or later he's going to do something stupid and get himself into trouble where he's suspended again like he did. Heck, he missed half this season. Are they paying him the full boat for coaching this year when he only coached half the season?
Chris, I'm right there with you. There's got to be some fine print in there. You would think a lot of legalese being put into this contract where they have an out. They, as in Michigan, get an out. So as we hear about coaches being fired with cause, you got to think if there's a big scandal or something. I don't know what exactly would constitute "quote unquote" cause, but I would imagine there'll be some fine print in there.
Yeah, I mean, is there no? Let's face it. What do you call Jim Harbaugh a cheater? I mean, this wasn't his only. This wasn't his first rodeo with the NCAA and suspensions at Michigan. And so, I mean, do you have to consider him a violator of the rules, a repeat violator of the rules who skates by? He just skates by with no severe punishment? I mean, come on.
That's actually absolutely who he is. I mean, you cannot tell me. I know they tried to pawn off he had no knowledge of what they were doing in the background when they were scouting teams. There's no way on this earth he did not know what was going on. There's no coach at that level that does not know every single thing that is happening every single day within his program. And there's no assistant coach, especially at that level, when you're just getting into the business, that would take this on his own and try and impress the coach that way by cheating the rules. Harbaugh knew exactly what was happening.
Is it fair to compare Harbaugh to Bill Belichick in the NFL? I know we're doing college to NFL, but the amount of scandals that have surrounded the Patriots dynasty, or whatever you want to call it, over 20 years worth of time, seems like they always had a knack for very, very finely skirting the line, and then sometimes teetering over the top, whether it was the Spygate. I mean, as Panthers fans, we all remember what happened back, 03, or I guess that would have been Super Bowl 04, but back when they were caught, they, as in the Patriots, were caught videotaping before that Super Bowl. I believe they did it also against the Rams, and then a number of other times with interdivision opponents and so forth. But there's a lot of striking similarities there. Yeah.
It's been a strange ride for Michigan, despite everything, despite all the distractions. They're one of the best teams in the country, and they've got a chance to win a national championship this year, no question about it. But it's attainted. Do you consider it attainted? If they win the national championship, will it be considered, not that they will care, they're going to get their trophy and their rings and their money, but will America consider it? Certainly it won't be. I mean, I know the talking heads on ESPN won't call it a tainted national championship, but in reality, and on Fox, of course, Fox is the bedroom partners of the Big Ten, but ESPN's carrying the college football playoffs. But I mean, it is a tainted. Would you call it a tainted national championship should they win it?
I think you almost have to, don't you? They were accused of stealing signs and doing so in a way that it wasn't organic. They didn't have guys on the sidelines just trying to figure out what they were signaling in. They actually had a guy go videotape, and then they could break it down and find out exactly what they were doing. So did that help them win games? I don't know, but they felt it was necessary enough to do it to help them win games. So yeah, I would say this is a tainted national championship. Of course, I think all of us here in the South are hoping Alabama takes that out of the mix and knocks them out in the semifinals, and it won't be an issue.
All right, what else do we have for you here tonight? Our phone number, 888-898-2525. South Carolina has two players named the SEC coaches all-freshman team, Trovon Baugh, offensive lineman, and defensive back Jalon Kilgore. Two guys that if you can keep them in your program, they have a bright future. Sources told Pete Thamel that Penn State defensive coordinator Manny Diaz, the failure at Miami, has emerged as the focus of Duke's head coaching search. So he's going to get another. Is this guy the next Will? Is he the ACC's Will Muschamp of multiple chances? They must like him for some reason. Now he went to Penn State and I guess did a good job with their defense, right?
Well, and Elko was known as a defensive guy, too, at Duke, so maybe that's their thinking. Maybe they can continue that sort of lineage. But, yeah, I'm like you. When I saw Manny Diaz was the front runner at Duke, I had to take a step back and think, do they really want to go that route? I mean, you saw what he did. They were paying attention, I would hope, when he was at Miami and saw what a disaster he was down there. And you would think they can get better athletes in at Miami than he's going to be able to draw to Duke. but I don't know.
Yeah.
I love the trolling. Oh, sorry, real quick,
ahead.
Phil. Love the trolling by Ole Miss head coach Lane Kiffin. You know, they're playing Penn State in the Peach Bowl, and he's already been trolling them about various players electing to sit out the game. But then today he wrote, "Congrats," at Coach Manny Diaz, linking the article to him being pursued by Duke. So Lane Kiffin in full force.
Thinking he won't be coaching against him.
That's exactly right.
In the bowl game. Yeah. And former Gamecock receiver Jason Barnes is being hired as the new receivers coach at Charlotte. That's where Perry Parks was, right? Perry's at Coastal now, right? Perry Parks?
Yes.
Yes. He's at Coastal now. Did he just come back to Coastal? Got to go back and retrace that. Be back in a moment.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Clear and cool overnight with a low dipping down to 34. Look for a mix of sun and clouds tomorrow, but we're starting to warm up. The high reaches 65. For the weekend, Saturday, we have more clouds than sun and a high of 72. On Sunday, it's a 60% chance of scattered showers and a high of 69. I'm Casey Whitener with your On Point local weather.
And now the sounds of football from Mellow Mushroom Pizza Bakers. Enjoy the taste of football too, with hand-tossed pies, hoagies, wings, meatballs, hot pretzels, and over 100 beers from around the world. Mellow Mushroom in the Vista and on Sunset in Lexington.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting Las Vegas police say that the suspect in a deadly shooting at the University of Las Vegas, Nevada, had a list of targets at the school and at East Carolina University in North Carolina. Clark County Sheriff Kevin McMahill said Thursday that the suspect, identified as Anthony Polito, also sent out 22 letters with no return address to university faculty members across the United States. University officials say 3 faculty members were killed and a 4th was wounded by the gunman who opened fire on campus Wednesday before dying in a shootout with police. California is facing a $68 billion budget deficit. The nonpartisan Legislative Analyst's Office said Thursday that most of the deficit comes from lower than expected tax revenues this year. On Wall Street, the Dow by 62 points. More details at srnnews.com.
I sure like to brag about good local businesses. Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning is a great local biz. Josh and his team stress customer service as their top priority. Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning came out to my house. I had a toilet that wasn't working right, a garbage disposal that died. They came out right on time, told me everything they were going to do, and explained the price of each repair before even bringing in the tools. I knew exactly what I was getting and exactly what it would cost. Their prices are fair. Their team is courteous and professional. Plus, they did a great job fixing what needed fixing in my home. I am very careful about making any recommendations, and I'm thrilled and confident to suggest you call Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning for any plumbing needs. If it's a repair or to replace something, if it's that tankless water heater that you've always wanted to give you that endless hot water and save you some money. They unclog drain and sewer lines and so much more. Online, you'll find them at franklinplumbing.sc.com or just give Josh and those great folks a phone call, 799-2222. That's 799-2222, and tell them you heard about them from here at The Point.
Dave Ramsey here. Do you want your money to work for you rather than you working for your money? Go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank and have been serving the Midlands since 1936, offering good old-fashioned customer service and free services. They'll look out for your financial well-being. With 14 locations, check them out today at palmettocitizens.org, federally insured by the NCUA.
Have you ever walked in and looked at how beautiful a Lexington Discount Homes manufactured home really is? For more than 35 years, Lexington Discount Homes has helped families find home ownership with phenomenal customer service and a selection that fits your needs and your wallet. They have a huge variety of homes and prices. Come by and visit us at 1847 Augusta Highway or take a virtual tour online at lexingtondiscounthomes.com. That's lexingtondiscounthomes.com.
Fran Halloran here. Now listen closely to what I'm about to say. I'm a business owner, and many of you listening right now, you're business owners as well. The first rule in owning a business is this: don't waste money. I see business owners waste their marketing dollars all the time. Not me. I figured out a long time ago that spending my marketing dollars at the point was not only intentional, but extremely profitable as well. If you're a small business owner, you owe it to yourself to sit down with Kevin Cohen and ask him to create a custom marketing plan for your business. He's looking for folks just like you who believe in local to partner with him in 2023 and beyond. Trust me when I tell you, partnering with The Point works. You will see results and your marketing budget will no longer be wasted. Give Kev a call at 803-563-8558 and tell him the Money Coach sent you.
Welcome back, everybody. Big Thursday edition Sports Talk Media Network. Here at the sponsors' dinner at the Train Depot, they have a cockaboose. Did you know they have a cockaboose at the Train Depot here at? It's not really. They don't call it a cockaboose. They call it a
caboose.
Caboose, yeah.
Yes.
But like the ones they have at Williams-Brice, they call those cockabooses. Mm-hmm. This is just a caboose. But they've got one of those here at the Train Depot. That's where we are for the sponsors' dinner tonight for the Touchstone Energy Cooperatives Bowl. On our airwaves on Saturday, I tried to hire Mike Morgan to do our play-by-play, but I think he's doing the Eagles and the Cowboys or something like that. This would be too much of a step down for him to leave the NFL ranks to call a small-time high school football game, which we don't consider a small-time high school football game, but you see what I'm saying. Anyway, Mike is with us now, and he is brought to you by State Farm agent Gary Patterson. For 35 years, Gary has been serving the real estate needs from Lugoff to Lexington, Columbia to Blythewood. Your auto, home, life insurance, business insurance can all be handled by Gary. When he isn't officiating ACC football games, he's spending countless hours helping South Carolinians with all their insurance needs and making a difference in the community. Check out GaryPatterson.net today. Gary will go over the best plans for you and your family. That is GaryPatterson.net.
Sponsored by Love Chevrolet. No hassles, no all-day runarounds, no ridiculous add-on stickers. At Love Chevy, buying a car is fun. South Carolina's #1 volume Chevy dealer. I-26 at Harbison and at lovechevy.com. Find new roads.
Mike Morgan joining us here on Sports Talk. How much would it cost us to have you come to Myrtle Beach and do the play-by-play of the Touchstone Energy Cooperatives Bowl? Would you break our budget?
Oh, no, not at all. I did the Myrtle Beach, Myrtle Beach Bowl. That's a whole other bowl game. I did the Myrtle Beach Bowl last year with Eric McLean, the mayor, and had a blast doing it. I would gladly do that bowl game again. But it's funny you mentioned the high school. I was talking about this the other day on Inside the Gamecocks on the Chief Sports Network, which you're a proud member of. I remember I used to do the state playoffs at Williams-Brice Stadium. They were broadcasted on ETV. Does ETV still do that?
No, sir.
No,
they don't. Okay, so
but it is done.
The
state finals are done over a network of stations in the state, over the air stations, commercial stations. It's the Sinclair stations in our state. They do the games.
Oh, good. Yeah. I mean, there's no reason that should not be televised. So we did it. I did it 2 or 3 years, and the one I remember the most, and you'll remember this being the savant that you are on South Carolina high school sports. It was the Lexington Dorman game, and Demetrius Summers was the star, and he ran all over Dorman in the first half. I believe Lexington, and somebody's going to correct me on this. Again, this is almost 20 years ago, but Lexington had a huge lead at the half, and then Dorman came storming back in the second half and won. And I remember thinking that was a really fun game to call, and one of my first football games on television.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. Your recall is pretty good. Before we get into some other things, I want to throw this at you, and just because it's dominating, like Chris was on the call today with Dabo Sweeney and Mark Stoops to preview the Gator Bowl, but all the conversation was about transfer portal. So as of this afternoon, according to On3, 1,426 football players have entered the portal. And also today, the Attorney General of West Virginia, Patrick Morrissey, filed a lawsuit led by Ohio and filed in the Northern District of West Virginia, where he joined with 6 other states to sue the NCAA over their transfer rule. The complaint alleges the NCAA restrains athletes from marketing their labor in violation of the Sherman Act. In their complaint, he said they discussed the arbitrary and inappropriate way the NCAA has treated Raekwon Battle and other athletes. Every athlete must be treated fairly. No organization is above the law. In a separate filing, he said they are asking the court for a temporary restraining order against the NCAA to bar them from enforcing their transfer rule. So he is trying to get a ruling to let this guy play right away, obviously, and of course impact all transfers across the country. So what a tangled what a tangled web we have woven here. I'm trying to get it right with what we're doing now with college sports.
Yeah. What kind of wood would a woodchuck wood if he could? I think you were going with that one too.
That one too, yeah. What a tangled web we weave.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah,
good line there. I like that one.
Thank you.
No, I'm at the point now where, the other one, of course, is the Charlie Baker coming out and basically saying that, we need to start talking about basically treating these athletes as employees, although they're not using the word employees necessarily. And I have my own theory on why that is. But they're talking about giving a $30,000, whatever you want to call it, trust or something for college athletes. All these are great ideas in theory, but at the end of the day, I mean, basically players now are ruling the roost anyway. Like it's the timing of the first lawsuit you mentioned. It's like, dude, what else do you want? There's no salary cap. You get whatever you want. There's no limit on NIL. You get to leave. You get the NIL money, and then you don't have to sign a contract like a pro player does. So you don't have to really honor anything. You just kind of do what you do, and then you leave. I mean, look at the Juice Wells situation. I'd love to know, Phil. Maybe you can do a little deep digging on this. I almost said Dirk Diggler. That's a whole other story. And go ahead and figure out like how much money did Juice Wells make while he was getting free physical therapy and being able to use the weight room and being treated with the utmost care while virtually not playing and leading everybody along before he hits the transfer portal to try and make some extra bucks somewhere else. I mean, that's not even what NFL players can do. People say you want to be treated like a pro athlete. Well, that's not the way it works in the NFL. So, I mean, right now, even if you were a proponent of college athletes getting a bigger piece of the pie, I get it. But this is not at all what is good for the sport. And at some point, they're going to have to get some guardrails, some continuity, what have you. And we have none of that. It is the wild, wild west. It's a runaway freight train. It's a rudderless ship. And I don't think that we're getting any closer to fixing it. And the coaches that I talk to, and I talk to several in coaches meetings and what have you, they all tell me the same thing. They have no objections to NIL money and athletes getting compensation. you could make an argument that's the pay for play part of the equation. But the pay for stay, in other words, I'm going to give you all this, roll this out, get you all this money. You're making well beyond market value. This is not true NIL market value. That's a hoax. But then we gotta beg you to stay because you might leave for an extra $50,000 somewhere else. Like it's not in the spirit of what this was all supposed to be about.
No, of course not. And every recruiting related rule in the history of the NCAA, nothing is followed in the spirit of how the rule was written. But what we're really seeing now, Mike, and I mean, there's no hiding it now. It's absolute bargaining. There's absolute bargaining going out there for players between the schools. Like you said, retaining your current players, you give them a figure, and if they're not happy with it, and they've got word that they can get more somewhere else, then they're hitting the transfer portal, John. We've got the case here in Columbia with Mario Anderson, the team's leading rusher. It's been reported that he's going to enter the portal. Then some are saying, well, it's not over yet because South Carolina, is still negotiating with him financially.
Right.
The number he's asking for is something that allegedly they're not willing to meet. The point is, based on the reporting, there's just outright financial negotiations taking place. And the more this thing, the longer this thing goes, the longer this is in place, this style, the more it becomes flat out evident that the schools are having to pay and buy the players, whether it's their own players or those outside their program, and they take players from other programs simply by buying them now. That's what it's. Let's just be truthful. Right. It would be. I would accept things a whole lot more if they would stop dancing around the fact of what they're actually doing. Just admit it. Just say it. Admit it. They don't want to call them employees. I guess there are ramifications, but how can you continue to get around that? How can you? You asked about Juice Wells. We've been going on the belief, because the source who told me this last summer should know, because he's involved in the NIL process. Okay, that he was making $800,000 at South Carolina this past season. That was his deal, $800,000. Yeah. Now, I trust this source. I don't look. Cliff Ellis called for transparency yesterday in his retirement speech. He hammered that home. There's got to be transparency. And that's for the school's benefit. He wants to know how much another school is offering one of his players, because it's all being done secretly. This is as bad as the days when you just cheated and did things under the table. You don't know what you're up against. So that was the information that we've always leaned on when it came to that situation.
That figure, by the way, I'm sure a lot of people's jaw dropped when they first heard that out of your mouth. It's not dropping. Mine's not dropping, because I've heard similar type figures for similar type players. And we're at the point. I mean, you see how many established quarterbacks are in the portal. These aren't kids fighting for playing time. This is not like a Vandegrift leaving Georgia because Carson Beck might come back, so he goes to Kentucky where he knows he can play right away. These are guys that are already the starting quarterbacks for their given schools and are just leaving because they know there's some extra money. And you mentioned just be transparent. I'll tell you something that no one's ever going to be transparent about that's definitely going on, and that's tampering. You can't tell me that that many of these kids that enter the portal and all of a sudden wind up somewhere, that there hasn't already been communication. And again, if we want the pro model, just remember, tampering is illegal in the pros. Mm-hmm. That other coaches, other assistant coaches, who knows, maybe even head coaches, are playing footsies under the table with players with other programs and saying, hey, look, if you come here, I can get you more money. That's got to be going on. That's got to be going on.
Mike Morgan and Morgan on the Move here with us tonight on Sports Talk. And Mike, dovetailing off of Phil's comment about Cliff Ellis yesterday. First off, just wanted to get your thoughts about one of the titans in college basketball retiring at mid-season, so to speak. And also a follow-up to that is he basically, as Phil pointed out, said in his statement yesterday that part of the reason he is leaving is being chased out by the transfer portal and NIL. And he's going to make it his mission to try and get some common sense legislation passed.
Well, first off, I mean, and I've done a few of Cliff's games at multiple spots over the years. What a career, right? I mean, what a career. How many total wins for Cliff? I'm sure you got the number somewhere there.
Over 900. Over 900. If you count Cumberland, if you count his wins at Cumberland, over 900. Of course, if you counted my wins as the coach of the champion Latta Little League team back in 1977, then I would have about 12 wins in my career. But go ahead.
Well, let's count those, and I'll be damned if we're going to deny Cumberland wins on this program. I won't stand for it. So let's count them.
Well, how about Jim Harbaugh demanding? How about Jim Harbaugh demanding the 6 wins that Michigan got while he was sitting on his couch go on his record, go on his wins?
Yeah, that ain't going to happen. But, you know, the thing about Jim has no, I mean, he gives zero blanks about when anybody thinks about him. No filter, no nothing. Just break every rule imaginable. He doesn't care. It's like, if you're really going to ban me, I'll just go to the NFL. That's the beauty of Jim. But no, Cliff's had a marvelous career. Now, I mean, look, plenty of people have had questions about Cliff Ellis's recruiting practices over the years. We're being 100% honest. So, but that's in this situation, that's actually a good thing, because you need somebody who knows where all the bodies are buried and all the tricks of the trade, because now they're all under the light of day and they're legal, but that doesn't mean they're not bad for the sport, given the way they're being done right now. So I think Cliff would be a terrific ambassador in that way, and I think he had one hell of a career.
Okay, Mike, you're off to the NFL this weekend, or is it college?
We got college hoops this weekend. We got LSU, Kansas State. Remember, Kansas State was an Elite 8 team last year. They go to Baton Rouge. Coach McMahon in his second year with the Bayou Bengals. We'll have a little NFL next week. The Titans with C.J. Stroud, who's been phenomenal, and Will Levis and the Titans. So I'll be in Nashville the following weekend to do some NFL. So the Bayou and the Music City next up for and Gainesville for a basketball game midweek. So throw those 3 out there and put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Life is good, my friend. Life is good.
Put that in your pipe and smoke it, Arkansas. Hey, how about Rocket Sanders to South Carolina? Would you like to see that? Rocket Sanders in a Gamecock uniform?
Well, look, yes, there's no question. And while Mario Anderson, I think, was a terrific story, look, there are more naturally gifted players in the portal at his position. And you could make an argument, if you get Rocket Sanders, that might be one of them.
Well, if I'm Mario, I mean, listen, I don't know the deal. I don't know all the background. Don't know anything. But my goodness, I also kind of question loyalty of these players. And you mentioned Juice Wells and the fact that everything South Carolina did for him, and I told you the amount of money he was making, yet he still bolts. And I mean, where is loyalty, I ask you, huh?
Bill, I'm telling you, it's driving coaches and administrators crazy, because there is none. And I'll just leave you with this. If you're a South Carolina fan, if you're a Clemson fan, don't think it's just you. Everybody's being ravaged by this. There is no loyalty right now in college athletics.
All right, you got it. We'll be right back. Okay, we're back. Sports Talk approaching the top of the hour. Good to have you with us on this Thursday night. Phil Kornblut, Chris Bergen, and Pat Daniel. We'll have recruiting coming up. We've got the two head coaches from here at the Touchstone Energy Cooperatives Bowl coming up after the top of the hour break. Clay Hendricks from Furman out in Montana at the bottom of the hour as we look ahead to the matchup of the Paladins and that's the Grizzlies out there, right?
Grizzlies. And the weather is going to be considerably better than the last time a team from our state went up there in the FCS playoffs. You'll remember when Coastal went up there in 2013, the wind chill was minus 36 degrees.
I remember that. I remember that.
Check the weather forecast for tomorrow in Missoula, Montana, and it's supposed to be about 35 with light snow. So I'm sure the Furman kids will enjoy that. But yeah, it was crazy. I did not make that trip. I was disappointed. But there's a picture inside of Coastal's field house, and you can just look at the picture and see how cold it is. I mean,
yeah,
it's
that
insane.
Was didn't Moglia buy some special winter gear for the players?
Yes.
Probably in violation of a number of different rules.
There's no doubt. They also had chicken soup on the sidelines as opposed to like Gatorade and water. Mm-hmm. He had them drink chicken soup to stay warm, and it worked. They actually won that game.
You mentioned, I think they're catching a little bit of a break as far as, and this is where that loss to Wofford really hurts them because
exactly.
They would likely be a home team in this round, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. I was talking to Dan Scott during the Myrtle Beach Invitational. He said, that loss to Wofford was going to really, really hurt them in the seedings because they were looking at probably a 1 or a 2 seed, at worst 2 or 3 seed, and what they fell to 7. And so that puts them on the road and a really hard place to go play. Montana, that is not, aside from the weather, that's a tough place to go play because they're usually pretty good. Clearly, it's the third round of the FCS playoffs.
Yeah. Let's see. Matt Campbell has stepped down as the football coach AD at Lugoff Elgin. And so they're looking for a coach. Did a great job. There's a great guy, obviously. And John Rahm, Masters champion, joining the Live Golf League. Sources confirmed to Mark Schleybaugh of ESPN. Reportedly, he's going to get a guarantee between $500 and $600 million.
Good to play golf.
$500
really
and $600 million to go. And I want to ask this question. What if, I mean, seriously, and this is something you have to consider, the Saudis and that money, they are trying to invade as many different areas of the sports scene as they can. What if they decided to get into college football and take over a program and say, listen, you spend as much as you need to spend. We will provide you dollar for dollar, whatever you need. You need a $5 million, you need $10 million, you need $50 million, you need $100 million. We'll give it to you.
I would never say never. Yeah, I would never say never with regards to that. I would think they'd probably go NFL if they're going to get into football, but who knows?
Okay, we'll be back after.
By the way, before we do what's supposed to happen here, thank you for pushing the button. I thank you. Programming thanks you. America thanks you.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. University presidents were met with swift backlash to their remarks on campus anti-Semitism. Correspondent Walter Ratliff reports.
The presidents of Harvard, the University of Pennsylvania, and the Massachusetts Institute of Technology faced swift criticism for their responses earlier this week during a congressional hearing on anti-Semitism on college campuses. Republican and some Democratic lawmakers are rebuking them for not being strong enough in their condemnation of hate speech against Jewish students. The university presidents had testified in a 5-hour-long hearing before the House Education and Workforce Committee. I'm Walter Ratliff.
Former Israeli ambassador to the U.S., Dr. Michael Oren, says Israel is still in a state of shock over the Hamas terrorist attack it suffered on October 7th.
Country's still, bogged down emotionally in October 7th, and I think it's going to take a very long time. Even the notion that we lost hundreds of soldiers on that day, that is very difficult to internalize.
Oren says the entire nation won't get a chance to heal until after the war with Hamas is won. He was interviewed by the Salem Radio Network. New York Democratic Congressman Jamal Bowman was censured by the House of Representatives today for pulling a fire alarm at a U.S. Capitol Hill building when the chamber was in session. Michigan Congresswoman Lisa McClain says Jamal Bowman knew what he was doing.
Representative Jamal Bowman of New York knowingly pulled a fire alarm to cause chaos and stop the House from doing its business. This is a felony, plain and simple. It's not difficult to understand.
Bowman late Wednesday said he pleaded guilty to a misdemeanor and apologized for his mistake. On Wall Street, the Dow by 62 points, the Nasdaq rose 193, the S&P advanced 36. More at townhall.com.
Relief Factor, pain relief. It's natural pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com, and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
Hi, Rhett Rasmussen of BestHotGrill.com. Step up your grilling game with our Solaire portable infrared grills. Our compact everywhere is a favorite of RVers and trailer pullers. Solaire Infrared provides the quick sear for bar marks and texture needed to properly finish sous vide. Use a portable alongside your larger conventional grill to create an instant sear zone and more juicy and flavorful food. Learn more at BestHotGrill.com. Affordable, powerful, portable infrared grills at BestHotGrill.com.
Tragedy strikes the family of a U.S. Senator from North Dakota. Bob Agnew reports.
Republican Senator Kevin Cramer says his son was involved in a police chase on Wednesday night that led to the death of a police officer. Senator Cramer says his son, 42-year-old Ian Cramer, has a long history of mental illness, paranoia, and hallucinations. He was driving a stolen vehicle at the time. In a statement, the senator requests prayers for the family of the fallen officer and his colleagues. Bob Agnew reporting.
House Speaker Mike Johnson's margin for error in getting Republican priorities through the House is getting slimmer. The expulsion of Congressman George Santos of New York and the end-of-year retirement of Representative Kevin McCarthy is shrinking the GOP's vote cushion. That's complicating future votes and magnifying the ability of individual lawmakers to force concessions. News and analysis at townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Clear and cool overnight with a low dipping down to 34. Look for a mix of sun and clouds tomorrow, but we're starting to warm up. The high reaches 65. For the weekend, Saturday, we have more clouds than sun and a high of 72. On Sunday, it's a 60% chance of scattered showers and a high of 69. I'm Casey Whitener with your On Point local weather.
As a kid, you dreamed of being a firefighter one day. Now, the opportunity is yours. Answer the sound of sirens. Live your dream. Become a part of a team, a family. Visit scvolunteerfire.org to find out more.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil, Chris, and Pat with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
Right, we are Sports Talk on a busy Thursday night from all over the state of South Carolina. Chris Bergen here in the PD. Pat Daniel taking care of things and holding down the fort in Columbia somewhere at the sponsors dinner at the North-South All-Star football game, the Touchstone Energy Cooperatives Bowl. Phil Kornblut, who has mysteriously vanished. Don't know what's happened to Phil. Hope the smells from inside the dinner, Pat, didn't pull him away from us. He still got. He does know the show is 2 hours, not just 60 minutes, right?
I have a sneaky suspicion he's talking to somebody there that'll listen about either the transfer portal or NIL. Not sure which. Looks like he might be getting some guests to come in and join the program here.
That may very well be the case. So, but nonetheless, Phil is back with us down in Myrtle Beach. We got worried about you.
Yeah. I had to just go stick my head in the door there to remind the coaches to come holler at me because, they were starting to become very social in there.
Yeah.
Coach Will Young is with us from Greer. It's great to see you. I remember when you were a daggone high school player.
I do.
And making recruiting calls.
That was a long time ago.
If my memory's right, I think you were the earliest commitment ever for Danny Ford.
I was actually committed to Ken Hatfield. Yeah, Coach Ford had been gone a couple years, and I had committed prior to my senior year, which back then was unusual.
Yeah.
Today that people commit all the time.
Yeah,
it's a little different today.
But you were early.
I was.
You were early. Okay, we got Coach Walt Wilson with us here as well from Richland Northeast High School. We'll let him put on the headset there as well, and he'll join us here momentarily if he doesn't break my headset. Yeah. It's not like those ones you wear on the sideline.
Yeah, I was seeing that.
Yeah. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good.
Appreciate y'all coming out to visit with us for a few minutes. Coach Young, let's start with you. How has the week been working with your players?
It's been great. I think one of the big things we got some really good kids too. We got obviously good athletes on both sides, but the kids are well behaved. They represent their school and their community extremely well, and that part's been great. Weather's been decent, hasn't been too bad, so it's been a good week.
You've been able to get in what you wanted to get in?
Well, we're cramming. But I think we're both getting in there, and we got a couple more days and a couple more practices, and but we got most of it in. Yes.
Yeah. Now you're facing a coach who likes to score about 75 points a game.
I do remember that.
Are you preparing your defense?
Well, for 75 points a game, if it gets to that, we're in trouble.
Yeah. Coach Wilson, how about you and the practices so far and how things have gone?
Well, it's first of all, he's right. We have some good young men. It makes the process real easy, and it's fun. These young men, it's just a pleasure to have an opportunity just to be around them, to get a chance to be in their lives and teach them life. I just keep telling them good people make good decisions and good decisions win in their big picture life,
You're finding that these kids are happy to be here. So many things have changed with college kids, high school kids today. Do you still find that they covet being in a game like this, being in an all-star game, and appreciate the opportunity?
Oh yeah, that makes it special. It's I don't know Coach Young, but if I dress out 45 kids, I got 25 that's there because they want to be there. That's beautiful.
Yeah, it is.
But I got 44 that knows it's a privilege because it's another 44 that wish they could be here.
Exactly right.
They treat them well here for this week. That's for sure. Coach Wilson, what kind of things offensively are you hoping to do on Saturday?
Move the ball.
How?
How? Take the ball and go 10 yards.
That's a good answer.
Basically, we got it's athletes on both sides of the ball. That's what makes it an all-star game. So basically, you just feel that you're trying to find a hole somewhere, get 10 yards, and keep it moving.
Do you want to throw the ball a good bit?
I honestly, I feel it would be kind of 50-50.
50-50. All right, Coach Young.
He didn't give you much there.
He didn't. No,
I was ready for a scout report.
I know you were listening intently.
That's right.
Do y'all still get to scout each other's practices? Or
It's
do they cut that out?
technically not something that's sanctioned anymore.
No, that's not.
It never happened.
It never happened.
No.
What about the North offense?
Hopefully, same thing with the athletes. I think the big thing in a game like this is they are all-stars. They're here for a reason, and they were good players all year long. And get those kids the ball, whether it's space or in the backfield, and let them do what they do. I mean, that's really what it comes down to in an all-star. You got 3 days.
Yeah.
Would
you like to have 5?
It's going to be.
Would you like to have the full 5?
Well, I mean, if you're putting in an offense, you need the full 5.
Yeah.
But here in this game Saturday, I think you'll see his athletes making plays, our athletes making plays, doing what they've done most of the year.
You know, and one of the things I tell my young men is this: in these games, everybody's good. Okay, both teams are good on both sides of the ball. Now, the biggest thing is, I'll be honest with you, the key is special teams. You know, special teams, because you don't have time to get it all in, and you crunched on offense and you crunched on defense. You know, I'll be honest with you, I really think it's going to come down to that third phase.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you know, is that
the punting game and the kicking and the field goal kicking games usually suffer in these all-star games, don't they? Because you just don't have time.
Yeah, that, and you also got a kicker that may have been sitting around a month. You know, sometimes that's the problem too. So you get one that played last Saturday, you're doing pretty good. But I think both of ours probably been sitting around a little bit.
And you just had to import the North. Just had to import a brand new center.
We did. Yeah, we had one that sustained a concussion on Tuesday, and we were able to get Nick Hatton down here from West Side. He was our top alternate coming into the ball game, and Nick played Saturday, and so he's at least he's well trained, ready to go, and he's really excited to be here. So
Yeah.
I'm real happy he got to come. He's a good kid. We played him in the regular season, and really wish we could take him the first time, but we'll take him the second.
Absolutely. And Coach Wilson, you've had pretty good turnover in your roster. You've had a number of changes for one reason or another, illness, injuries.
Yeah,
You've had to go through quite a number of players.
Yeah, we have. And I'll be honest with you, you know, the thing about this is you have athletes on deck that, you know, like Coach said, we didn't pick them the first time, but we came back around and they got opportunity to come. You know, and for instance, my kicker, my kicker just got here yesterday. And, you know, I told him, I said, hey, man, ain't how you start, it's how you finish. You know, and he's happy to be here. And I mean, it's just, you know, right now you got kids that, like I say, just want to play football.
Yep. I know your kicker's going to be fine. He's a +3 handicap in golf.
That's pretty
All
good.
right,
He'll do good tonight in there at Top Golf. That doesn't help us win tonight.
No, it doesn't.
Let me ask you both this, because, you know, you've been involved in this game a lot of years. I'm not trying to date you or anything, but you guys have been around a lot of years. You've seen a ton of changes in all areas of football. And right here in South Carolina with the new +3 rule and all this kind of stuff. What do you think about that? You guys, of course, are public high schools. And you don't take players from outside your school district. I understand that. Doesn't really impact you. But what about across the state? Do you see this being a good move, Coach Young, what they've decided to do?
Well, you know, I think regardless of what you do, I think the biggest thing that needs to be addressed is the difference in the size of the school from the smallest in that classification to the largest. It looks like 4A is going to be very gigantic in the next realignment. So I'm not real sure what they're planning to do with that. As far as 3-time multiplier, I don't really have much thought of it. I mean, we have some transfers that are in, but not enough to move us anywhere. So we're happy with the kids we got. We like the kids that are at Greer, and we're going to coach the crap out of them.
And you got one he's in this game who's going to be a preferred walk-on at Clemson.
Yeah,
right?
that's Chase Bird. Great kid, great student, really good wide receiver. You know, and Clemson's done a pretty good job in the past of developing walk-ons at receiver, and I hope he's successful. I think he's got a good shot.
Your thoughts, Coach Wilson, on the things that have changed in South Carolina football?
Well, I'm going to tell you like this. I really don't get into it because I think, you know, this situation to me is like a card game. You know, you sit down and you are dealt a hand. You can't say, hey, I don't want this hand. I throw it in. So, and when I say that is that I believe in controlling what I can control and keep it moving. Now, my thing is this, you know, I always say if a kid comes to my school, I'm a coach. If he's not, I'm not going to worry. So, you know, so what's happening here, I think when you said the basic compete balance, you know, trying to be fair, you know, it ain't such thing as being fair. Let's just be real about it. It's not such thing as being fair. Everybody's not going to be happy. You know, everybody's not going to be happy, but you know, you got to keep it moving. And a lot of times we get caught up in things that we don't control.
Sure.
You know, because like I said, on Friday night, who's in my region, I'm going to play. You know, I'm not going to say, well, they too strong for me, coach. So I'm going to give you this game, coach. And
I'd have a hard time doing that.
The great collegiate thing with all the schools forfeiting. Yeah. But I hear what you're saying. But didn't they get their point across? Because don't you think those forfeits and what they did kind of forced this thing to come to fruition?
I think it's been building for a while. Yeah. I mean, I really do, especially in the lower classifications. Maybe in ours, it's not quite the same, but, you know, you look at the scores in the state game, and it's so lopsided there. And, you know, I don't know the answer. I really don't. Private schools are not going away. It's a part of what we are now. And, you know, hopefully somebody smarter than me will come up with a good solution.
You know, because I actually been, you know, in that situation when I came back to Columbia. I was at C.A. Johnson, okay, and that was a COVID year. So, you know, you only had 2 teams going to the playoffs. You know, unfortunately, my first round was against Southside Christian.
Very good team.
Yeah.
You know, so I understand. I understand the situation because, you know, I'm sitting here with a 118, right, and they sub a complete unit on the 1A level. That's interesting, you know, for a coach. It's like, well, but you know, my thing is this, you know, it's like this. You know, you don't hate the player, hate the game. You understand? Because, I mean, you know, it's just like a kid. A kid only does what you allow him to do. Yeah. So, therefore, I'm not mad at Southside Christian for putting the best team they can on the field. You know? It's so like I said, you know, you can't control that. You know, everybody. It's like this. It's no fun when the rabbit got the gun. That's the bottom line. If they had a team that basically, you know, think about what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But if you had the team, would you whine about it? You know, so I don't look at stuff like that. Like I said, I can't control it. All I can do is make my schedule.
Yeah.
And get my kids prepared to play.
Speaking of your kids, you got a kid. That is your kid. Who's your quarterback?
He's pretty good.
Is he good?
Yes.
Yeah. He's good.
He's blessed.
Committed to NC State. Yeah. Is that going to hold on for another year?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, he loves Coach Dorn. He loves, and listen, you know, when your son says, Dad, I want to play for him. Now, I don't know if you saw his commitment tweet. You know, a lot of people, they take a picture with themselves and this. No. If you look at his, it's him holding hands with Coach Dorn, a handshake. That's how he feels. That it's a partnership, you know, and when kids, you know, he feels that deeply, yes. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, he's been blessed to have, you know, 10, 11 more Power 5 offers. But he feels very comfortable with the Wolfpack. So, yes, it's going to hold on.
It's going to hold. Has anybody ever confused you as Charles Barkley?
I've been confused by a lot of people.
I mean, seriously. I'm serious.
His English is too good for that.
Headset on.
Hey, I wish I could get his money.
Yeah, I hear you.
We can start your own show if you want.
You know, hey, buddy, hey, just show me the dollars.
There you go. Hey, good luck to y'all on Saturday. I think we're going to have a great weather day. So fumbles will be few. Interceptions will be, you know, not caused by bad weather.
That's right.
Hope you guys have a great game and looking forward to it on Saturday. We thank you for coming out and being with us.
We are too. Thank you.
Great seeing you. Thank you very much.
All right.
Coach Will Young, Coach Walt Wilson, head coaches for the North and the South Touchstone Energy Bowl coming up on Saturday. Great fellas, great coaches, tremendous programs, and should be a lot of fun watching them. And thanks to I forgot to ask Coach Young about his nephew going to Clemson now too, but I mentioned that to him the other time when he was on with us. You know, that's his nephew who is who flipped his commitment from Appalachian State to Clemson.
No,
his name is Watson Young. Yeah,
can't believe you would
throw that in there as well. Yeah,
Coach Wilson is too good a speaker to be compared to Charles Barkley.
Well, I'm just talking
his
about
grammar is a whole lot better.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he does
like
have a resemblance. Yeah, he does have a resemblance to Coach Barkley. But I thought Charles Barkley. But I thought what he had to say about whether or not he would worry about SCISA teams and charter teams and a whole 9 yards in the public school, I thought it was a great answer. Look, I can't control that. Yeah. And his analogy, it's no fun when the rabbit has the gun, I thought was spot on.
I like that. It took me a second to figure that one out, but in other words, the rabbit firing back at the hunter.
Yes.
Is that what he's suggesting there?
Exactly.
I'll have to use that one with Major Downer on SC Wild next time.
It's a different
Major
sport
Downer
if the deer has a gun too.
Exactly. It actually becomes a sport. I'm not sure
Yes,
it is
it
a sport. It's a one-sided deal. Okay. Thanks to the coaches for being with us. Don't forget the game Saturday. Airtime, high noon, kickoff 12:30. Mr. Football at halftime. Should have a great day for football. Very comfortable weather situation. No rain in the forecast. I think the temperatures are going to be 60s, maybe mid-60s, maybe 70s. Yeah, let's hope so. So we roll to the break, and we'll come back and give you the recruiting report tonight. Then Clay Hendricks at the bottom of the hour from out in Montana. Then we'll also hear from the two basketball coaches, Brownell and Paris, from last night's Clemson-Carolina basketball game won by the Tigers. Clemson now goes up to Canada to play TCU on Saturday. The Gamecocks go to East Carolina, the end of the world, Greenville, North Carolina, to play at noon on Saturday, and we'll be back in a moment.
Touchstone Energy cooperative members save more on electricity. And members save more on insurance, groceries, healthcare, restaurants, travel, concerts, and sporting events through Co-op Connections. Touchstone Energy is an alliance of the member-owned electric cooperatives. And as a member, the power is yours. Experience the power of Co-op membership with Touchstone Energy and find out how much you can save on electricity and a whole lot more at touchstoneenergy.com.
Farm Bureau Insurance's agricultural roots and ties to South Carolina farmers have shaped the company's culture and work ethic, providing a unique customer experience. Customers are treated like people, not policies. Now, while other insurance companies may have a one-size-fits-all approach to handling customers, we believe you need to be valued and treated right. Our claims professionals work until the job is done, and our agents still believe in the commitment that comes with a handshake. Call Buddy Bridges in Clinton and Lawrence at 864-923-2174 for all of your auto, home, and life insurance needs.
You've put in the work for your education. The extra early, extra late, extra work. That's because you understand education opens doors to better pay, better opportunities, and a better you. Being educated about playing the lottery is no different. It helps you be a better player, one who knows when to play and when to take a rain check. The lottery's a game, so let's keep it fun. Learn more at sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
Call Lawyer Lisa. Experience the difference with Lawyer Lisa.
Hi, this is Lisa Hosteller-Brown. Do you know the difference between a revocable trust and an irrevocable trust? The difference could easily save you hundreds of thousands of dollars in long-term care costs. Visit lawyerlisa.com to schedule a consultation today.
Call Lawyer Lisa. Experience the difference with Lawyer Lisa.
7511 St. Andrews Road, Irmo, South Carolina.
Daddy, you need a trust.
Hi, this is Billy Downer from the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources. Are you looking for a safe place to shoot your rifle or handgun? Did you know that the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources operates 4 manned ranges across the state in Pickens County, Spartanburg County, Richland County, and Charleston County? For more information on our public ranges, visit dnr.sc.gov/shooting.
Avoiding excess financial stress from the holidays doesn't take a Christmas miracle. All it takes is a Christmas loan from Founders Federal Credit Union. Our Christmas loan is designed to ease your Yuletide expenses so you can focus on what matters most, spreading joy and love. With our great rates, flexible repayment options, and outstanding service, you'll be ready for whatever the holidays might throw your way. So instead of putting that unexpected sleigh repair on next year's wish list, visit foundersfcu.com/Christmas loan to unwrap your own magic this Christmas. Relax with Founders Federal Credit Union. Terms and conditions apply. Federally insured by NCUA. Membership qualification required.
The stars do shine brighter at the beach as some of the best senior high school football players in South Carolina will be on display Saturday in the 76th Annual Touchstone Energy Cooperative Bowl. This is Phil Kornblum. Be sure to join us for our broadcast starting at noon from Doug Shaw Memorial Stadium. We'll have it all from kickoff to postgame, plus the announcement of Mr. Football at halftime. That's the Touchstone Energy Cooperative Bowl this Saturday at noon on the Sports Talk Media Network. Okay, we again thank the coaches for being with us tonight. They were a hoot to talk to. Keep an eye on Will Wilson. I mean, committed to NC State as his coach said, and but if he has a huge year, you know, other people are going to start coming in there. We'll see how strongly he holds to that commitment to NC State moving forward. But I tell you, Coach Wilson, known as an offensive coach at Calhoun County, some of the numbers they put up at Richland Northeast this season were mind-boggling. They had that playoff game with Bluffton where RNE alone had over 1,000 yards. I asked him about that today. He said he didn't really mean to do that, but it was out of necessity because they couldn't stop Bluffton.
That's amazing.
So they had to keep
really
piling up the points and the yards. Okay, the recruiting report tonight brought to you by Seawells and Pats. We all know what tomorrow is. It's not just Friday here in South Carolina. Now, is it?
Roast beef Friday over at Seawells. That's right. Carved roasted sirloin of beef along with southern fried chicken, and then a fan favorite, fried pork chops to go with your local farm fresh veggies, salad bar, dessert, and gravy.
Who offers you fried pork chops and roast beef all in the same buffet? Who does that?
Seawells, that's who.
11 till 2 for only $14. That's the only thing. It's only $14. You can't beat that. And if you're looking for the very best in the catering world, you know that's Seawells also. And their number is 803-771-7385. Check them out online at SeawellsCateringSC.com. My goodness, I got to get along here. Clemson's in the top 5 at 2025 cornerback Deuce Edwards of Jacksonville. The others are Oklahoma, Virginia Tech, Louisville, and Tennessee. He will announce on January 12th. We mentioned Barrett Carter announcing a return to Clemson. Debo Williams has officially announced a return to South Carolina for next season. South Carolina, Louisville, Auburn, all set to host Coastal. Transfer receiver Jared Brown over the next 9 days, according to On3. Florida running back Trevor Etienne has entered the transfer portal, John, according to Pete Nakos. USC offered Youngstown State transfer linebacker Alex Howard, FIU transfer defensive tackle Jordan Gerard, and Arkansas State transfer linebacker Javante Mackey. What if everybody South Carolina has offered in the portal, John, committed? They'd have an entirely new staff. They'd have like 50 guys coming in, all transfers. None as good as Mike Armstrong, who's just walking by. I have to brag about him. The former Gamecock star defensive line. We got more recruiting coming up, but what if all these guys they offered in the portal, John, committed? Be back in just a moment.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Clear and cool overnight with a low dipping down to 34. Look for a mix of sun and clouds tomorrow, but we're starting to warm up. The high reaches 65. For the weekend, Saturday, we have more clouds than sun and a high of 72. On Sunday, it's a 60% chance of scattered showers and a high of 69. I'm Casey Whitener with your On Point local weather.
Have you fallen behind on your taxes and might be facing IRS penalties? Have wage garnishments, levies, or liens? Have unfiled tax returns? You want someone local and qualified. Don't fall for those national spots. Meet with me, Teresa, at Capital City Professional Services, and let me help you through your tax maze. I can help with all your tax resolution issues. There are options to get you back on track. Call Capital City Professional Services, 400-8683. That's 400-8683.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting. Officials say a man fired a shotgun twice outside a Jewish temple in upstate New York, then said "Free Palestine" as he was taken into custody. Governor Kathy Hochul said no one was injured Thursday afternoon, hours before the start of Hanukkah. Police say the shots were fired outside Temple Israel, and the 28-year-old man is in custody. Hochul said he was a local resident. A man suspected of killing 6 people earlier this week in a shooting rampage across central Texas was confronted by police in August. Officers encountered Shane James Jr. during a mental health crisis and could have arrested him on a violation of cutting off an ankle monitor. Instead, they left him with his family where he was barricaded in his room. A new state law that went into effect September 1st made cutting off an ankle monitor a state jail felony. This is SRN News.
Ho, ho, ho. 'Tis the season to shop where Santa always shops. That's at Shooter's Choice, Santa's first stop. Have you been naughty or nice? Shooter's Choice has been awesome with their brand new, huge showroom to make your Christmas shopping a great experience. A massive space of firearms, ammo, and accessories to choose from. Benelli, SIG, Glock, Colt, Henry rifles, Bergara rifles, Franke, Stoger. I mean, come on. You have every major brand to choose from at Shooter's Choice. And to make it a simple job, let the pros at Shooter's Choice help you with Christmas selections. You just can't decide? Well, no problem. Gift cards are the answer. They always make shopping easy. Santa's marking down prices on new items up to Christmas Eve, and along with the daily and weekly specials, well, you will not be disappointed. Fill your Christmas wish list, save hundreds of dollars. If your sleigh can't make it to Sunset Boulevard in West Columbia, shop online at shooterschoicesc.com and have it shipped down your chimney, or at least to your front door. Merry Christmas from Shooter's Choice. Your Christmas shopping spree starts with your first choice, your best choice. Make it Shooter's Choice.
Hi, I'm Tazima. Join me every Saturday at 11 a.m. for Small Business Saturday. We'll celebrate business owners in our community while learning their stories of success and failure. It's Small Business Saturday right here at 100.7 The Point.
Experience matters when it comes to taking care of your loved one. At Oakley Village, Lexington, we have a leadership team that has over 100 years of caring for seniors. This means we have the experience you need. You can rest assured that your loved one is receiving exceptional care when living at Oakley Village. Don't trust the most important person in your life with anyone. Trust the experts. Trust Oakley Village. Call us at 803-808-3477 or visit us at oakleyvillagelexington.com.
Hey, honey, I know you're taking some meds for cholesterol. I was reading that if you're on these medicines, you should also be taking some CoQ10.
Actually, our pharmacist mentioned that to me already. He called me the other day, and we went through each of our medications together.
Really? He called you?
Yeah, he asked if I was having any side effects, recommended supplements that could help me, and let me know the risk of mixing certain drugs.
Wow. I'm happy to know that True Pharmacy is thinking about us.
True Pharmacy, 1628 Charleston Highway, 3217 Divine Street, or visit truerxsc.com.
Hey, y'all, my name's Ted from Flight Deck Restaurant. With the holidays approaching, people are looking for places to hold large parties. Flight Deck Restaurant has what you need. We have 4 different rooms that can accommodate groups from 12 all the way to 120 people. As long as you eat dinner with us, Flight Deck does not charge a rental fee for the room. Flight Deck Restaurant can accommodate wedding receptions, rehearsal dinners, Christmas parties, birthday parties, anniversary parties, civic organizations that need to have a regular place to meet. Flight Deck Restaurant is a full-service restaurant, and we can provide audio-visual equipment. Please consider Flight Deck Restaurant in Lexington. Thanks, y'all, and God bless.
Hi, this is Joel Lurie. I'm the host of Health Matters every Monday morning from 9 to 10 right here on 100.7 The Point. Join me as we talk about issues impacting your health and our community. It's Health Matters every Monday at 9 a.m. right here on The Point.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. Get back to recruiting in a moment. Clay Hendricks coming up as well in just a moment. Should also mention today's the official transition day where Scott Early takes over as the executive director of the South Carolina Athletic Coaches Association from Shell Dula, who is retiring from that position after many, many great years of leading the Coaches Association here across the state of South Carolina. So Scott Early, and now officially, after working with Coach Dula in a transition year, now takes the mantle and is the guy in charge of the South Carolina Athletic Coaches Association, and that's a big, big job. He's coming in with a bunch of new ideas. Because he has traveled the country and he has listened to what other states are doing, and he wants to apply some of those here in South Carolina.
Giant shoes to fill, though. When you think of South Carolina football, it does not take long before you start listing off top flight people in high school football, and certainly top flight coaches before you mention Shel Dula. Doesn't Coach Early know you're not supposed to replace the man? You replace the man who replaced the man.
Yeah,
you're supposed to be the next guy. But he'll do a great job, though. I have no doubt.
He's up to the challenge.
There's no question. Yeah, he'll do a great job.
Let me finish what we got going on here with our recruiting reports. And where'd we leave off? Jared Brown reportedly visiting South Carolina, Louisville, Auburn, former Coastal Carolina receiver. Florida running back Trevor Etienne in the transfer portal, the brother of the former Clemson star. Let's see, we talked about the USC offers. Ole Miss and Oregon making a strong push for former Gamecock receiver Juice Wells, according to Pete Nakos. Paul Strelo of Tiger Illustrated reported that Clemson is interested in Middle Tennessee State transfer offensive lineman Keelan Rutledge. Will have him in for a visit Sunday when the Tigers are having a bowl practice. He recently visited Georgia Tech. Clemson target transfer offensive tackle Alan Herron was offered by Syracuse. Last night, USC receivers coach Justin Stepp made an in-home visit. Strom Thurmond receiver Braylon Staley, who has been committed a long time to Tennessee, and Staley said they talked a good bit, talked about family stuff. They had dinner that his mom cooked. He knows that South Carolina's thin in the receivers room. They talked about that. He said that they would love to have him. Stepp told him they'd love to have him in the program. They're losing Juice, but they're getting Mazio Bennett coming in. But he does realize the room there is kind of thin. At the end of all this, he said he's still committed to Tennessee as of right now. His quote was, as of right now, if things go differently, then things go differently. As of right now, I'm committed to Tennessee. He's expecting Josh Heupel for an in-home visit on Saturday. He will not take any visits before signing December 20th because he's got the Shrine Bowl coming up next week that's going to eat up his schedule. And Amir Adams this week talked about his commitment to Clemson. The 6'3", 290 defensive tackle from South Florence surprised a lot of people because most had him pegged for South Carolina. But he said, you know what? I've been going to Clemson in my mind for a long time. His relationship with Nick Eason, a big reason for that. And he really wasn't see, he never said publicly what his inner thinking was. People were just kind of making putting out what they thought his inner thinking was, which is, of course, it's dangerous when you do that in covering recruiting, but people do that. He said there wasn't even a close second. It was just Clemson all the way for him.
Yeah. Those comments that he made, story we put up on the website, that surprised me that he said there was no close second. I was always going to Clemson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just goes to show you never know. You never know. There you go with the recruiting report for tonight. And it is brought to you by Seawells. Okay, let's head out to Montana. I hope they took their long underwear and heavy socks and snow blowers and anything. I don't know. Hopefully no snow out there tomorrow. We welcome in Coach Clay Hendricks of the Furman Paladins. They get ready to play the Montana Grizzlies tomorrow night on ESPN2. And, Coach, it's great to have you with us. Thanks for joining us tonight after your flight out to Montana. How are you?
I'm well, Phil. I'm actually standing outside. We just finished a little walkthrough with our guys out in the parking lot. And, actually it's pretty nice. I think the weather's supposed to, the last I saw, high in the upper 30s tomorrow, low in the 20s. So I don't know. It gets that cold in South Carolina. And we practiced last night. I think it was 38 when we finished in Greenville last night. So I think it's supposed to be dry. We'll see. They played in the snowstorm last week. But, if it snows, we'll play in the
snow. What's kind of the mood of your guys? How do you read them this week getting ready for this game?
Well, I think our kids are excited to play. I mean, short week because of the Friday game. Really happy to beat a really good Chattanooga team for the second time last week, which is not an easy thing to do. We're relatively healthy, you know. This is week 18 of the season, you know, in FCS football when you count your preseason. So I'm not sure anybody feels perfect, but I think we're relatively healthy and we're excited about the opportunity. Big challenge coming out to play. Montana has a really kind of unique setting with their crowd and support, you know, in FCS football. It's probably unlike anywhere else in FCS. And so that's something we'll certainly have to manage. I really think I just can't see the weather affecting our guys.
Yeah. What are the key things to know about Montana? What concerns you about them?
Well, it's funny. I get asked a lot. I got asked a lot this week about, hey, who do they look like? You know, who do you compare them to? I said they look like the team we practice against every week. You know, I think we're built similarly. You know, mature team. You can tell they're a tough-minded kind of group, which I think we are too. They want to run the football. We want to run the ball. They're really good against the run. We're really good against the run. They probably throw it around a little more than we do. They've been really solid in special teams. I don't know. I just see a lot of similarities, you know, and it's in the day. Can you go out and execute? Can you take care of the ball? Can you be really good in the kicking game? I think, you know, obviously whoever runs the ball the best, I think is probably going to have a great chance to win the football game.
Coming off the win that you had against UTC, you know, they jumped on top and then you guys strung together a lot of points and won that one, you know, pretty handily. So after losing that game to Wofford, but having a couple of weeks to get ready, did you feel like you were back on your game against UTC, that things were kind of back in order with your team as you get ready for this one tomorrow night?
Well, I think we were. I mean, we went about 3 weeks. You think about it, we didn't have our quarterback and we didn't have our 2 lead rushers for about 3 weeks. And, you know, Tyler was one of those guys. That's not an easy thing to overcome. You know, I think we got healthy. That was kind of the key for us. And, you know, our kids have played hard, practiced well all year. You know, we just, you know, we've been in a bunch of tough football games all year. And, but no, I was really pleased. I thought we left a few points on the field last week. We had 2 called back, and then I thought Tyler made a couple of great throws. They got dropped. You know, he missed a couple of throws we'd like to have back, but you think he hadn't played in a month. You know, he went 3 weeks after the injury without throwing a pass. So that's not the easiest thing just to come back from. But I thought he came out of the game probably a little sore from not being hit in a month. But felt really good and had a good week of prep, even with a short week. So no, we feel good. We're ready to go.
Clay Hendricks with us here tonight. The Furman Paladins in the quarterfinals of the FCS playoffs. They'll play at Montana tomorrow night, 9 o'clock our time, 7 o'clock out in the Mountain Time Zone. And, Coach, you talked about these 2 teams. They almost look like your team when you go out to practice because defensively they are very stout in terms of scoring defense, as is yours. In terms of momentum, though, after your loss to Wofford, you guys were able to bounce back and obviously win this past week to advance, but they have not lost a game since late September. Does that have any bearing, do you think, of the playoffs playing well throughout the back half of the season going into the postseason?
Oh, I'm sure it helps. You know, I'm sure it helps. You know, actually, I think each game, each little trend's a little different. I don't know, I get reminded of that last game a lot, but you know, our kids were so solid all year. And again, like I said, we should have been able to overcome some things. And, you know, we had good enough players. We should have been able to overcome. And, you know, I think sometimes you just got to understand that, I think we all understand that every week's a challenge. You know, every week brings on a different little bit of a challenge. But I think it starts with being healthy. If you don't have your players, it doesn't matter. You know, we all think we're great coaches, but we're a whole lot better coaches when our players are, our best players are out there. And like I said, we're healthy. You know, we're like I said, about as healthy as you can be. And, you know, we played really well against a really good team last week. And you know, it's a whole new season. You know, there's only 8 teams left with a chance to win a national championship. And we want to be one of the 4 after tomorrow night. But you got to go play well. And preparing well helps you do that. We had a really good week of prep, and again, I think we're ready to go play well.
Good luck to you, sir. We wish you the best out there in Montana. We'll all be tuned in tomorrow night on the Deuce watching. And like you said, you can get to that Final Four with one more win. Thanks for joining us tonight after a long day of travel and practice. We really appreciate it.
Go get them, Coach.
Thank you. Great being with you guys.
Thank you, sir. Okay, there you go. Clay Hendricks out in Montana. Out there where Yellowstone is. I wonder if he's going to have a chance to go visit the Dutton Ranch while he's out there. I don't.
My
think
guess
so.
is probably not. They've got bigger fish to fry, but that's going to be a tough setting tomorrow night. They have not lost at home. Montana has it this year.
Yeah, no question about it. Okay, now let's turn our attention to the basketball from last night and catch up a little bit with the two head coaches, Brad Brownell and Lamont Paris. We'll begin with Coach Brownell's comments. And okay, all right, we're not doing that just yet, I'm told. Okay, all right. I hear you. I got you. I understand what you're saying. Speak English to me. Yes, sir.
You're picking up what I'm putting down, huh?
This is called stalling. I'm stalling here.
I've got that Gator Bowl presser ready if you want that.
Oh, you know what? You're right. That's what we've got to get to. Okay. We're thinking here on the
Do
move.
we really?
Let's go to that.
That's 20 minutes of my life I'll never get back. You talked at the Open. This was the 2 best hours of the day. I'm grateful for that because the 20 worst minutes of my day were listening to that drivel today about the transfer portal.
Well, we'll let you lead into a little bit of Davos.
You get to do it again here.
We'll go there. We'll make you relive those terrible 20 minutes, but it's not that long. We're going to run just a segment of it. So you lead us into what you had to endure with Dabo Sweeney and Mark Stoops.
I don't necessarily blame Coach Sweeney nor nor Coach Stoops because they were just answering the questions they were asked. And in their defense, I could have asked something about the game. But when the situation when Cade Klubnik's not brought up, the only players that are actually mentioned are not with the programs anymore. It got a little tedious. Normally a press conference for a bowl game is about, all right, how are you going to slow down this team or how are you going to move the football against this team? But that was not the case. But nonetheless, Dabo Sweeney and Mark Stoops met for a Zoom call a bit earlier today. You'll be able to tell it's a Zoom call because some of the audio is not real crystal clear. They sized up their matchup at the Gator Bowl in a couple of weeks down in Jacksonville.
Yeah, well, thanks for having us today. And first of all, I just say congratulations to Coach Stoops and Kentucky for another great season. A program that I've had, just like everybody, great admiration for watching, what's happened there under Coach Stoops. I mean, he's done an amazing job, and so congratulations to them. For us, we're excited. As you said, I think we've been to the Gator Bowl more times than any other bowl. So there's a great tradition and history with Clemson Nation. And then in particular for me personally, my very first bowl game as a coach was 1993. I was a GA at Alabama and we played North Carolina. That was my first ever bowl game as a coach. And my very first bowl game as a head coach was, in the January of 2009 against Nebraska. So, and haven't been back since. So I'm super excited to be back. It's a great bowl game, tremendous city. I recruited Duval County. That was my recruiting area when I was an assistant. So I got a lot of familiarity there. And obviously we got 3 great players with the Jags as well. So just really excited about coming and, for our team to have the opportunity to experience the Tax Slayer Gator Bowl is the culmination of a great finish for us. I mean, I'm really proud of our team and how hard they worked to go from where we were mid-season to the Gator Bowl as a tremendous accomplishment for our guys, and I'm really thankful for that and excited for them to have this opportunity to have the experience. Happy for our fans. And just really appreciate all that y'all do to put it on. There's so many things that go with the bowl experience, and starts with all the great volunteers and the sponsors and everyone that gives back and gives of their time to make it a great experience for everyone. So on behalf of President Clements and Graham Neff, our AD, we're super excited about coming and having a great week and knowing it's going to be a great matchup and in a very competitive game.
Well, thank you. We are honored to be back in Jacksonville. We are looking forward to it. I'd also like to. Sweeney has been the model of consistency. Their program is one of the premier programs and a top program year in and year out. And I think both, really big highs this year and some lows. And we both finished on a positive note. Of course, they won their last 4. We had a big victory versus our rival in Louisville. So appreciative of our team and the way we finished through some ups and downs this year. But again, it's a great honor to play Clemson. Coach Sweeney does a remarkable job. Thank you to you and your staff. It's been an absolute joy for us to play in that game. We played in it twice. This will be the 3rd time, and we have a remarkable time. It's a beautiful setting. It's a great venue. We also have a couple guys that are playing on the Jags that we're very proud of, and look forward to getting down there and having a very competitive game against a great team and a great program.
Hey, Coach Sweeney, good to see you. You made a couple additions to your staff recently. I think Clemson fans are pretty familiar with Coach Rumph. He's made the rounds in the NFL. Tell us a little bit about him and also Coach Luke. When did Coach Luke get on your radar, and why did you feel a change was necessary there?
Yeah, well, first of all, great appreciation for Coach Ski and Coach Austin. 2 guys that I've had lifelong relationship with Ski, and certainly Thomas Austin and coaching him, and a captain for me. I mean, just 2 people that I love. Coach Ski and I, something we talked about actually for a while, and I think he honestly was kind of ready for a change, and we talked about what that looked like, and we both felt like, well, this is probably the best time, and then just 3 days in the office there, and really just kind of evaluating everything. I just felt like that it was just a change was needed. As I said, in the leadership of the OL room, and not an easy decision. These are very difficult decisions. So, but I'm thankful for just the relationship that we have and the people that we have coming in. I mean, this is a great opportunity for Coach Luke and for us. I mean, I've known Matt a long time, and honestly, was not anticipating making a change there. I really did not make that decision until probably Wednesday. I made that decision that that's what was going to happen, and just reached out to Coach Luke and just to kind of kick his tires and see if he was interested in getting back in, and he was ready. So it was good timing for him. He's a great fit. He's got a ton of great experience. He's coached a lot of great players. He's got a great recruiting background as well. And so, really excited about he and Ashley and their 2 precious boys coming in to join us. And then, as you alluded to, Chris, going back a long time, Chris and I were assistants together. And then when I became the interim and then the head coach, he was on my first staff and did a fantastic job. And so he left here after the 2010 season, went and worked for Coach Saban at Alabama, and he's been in some of the best programs in the country. And then for the last several years, he's been coaching pro football. And he's actually a guy that had tried to hire him back in 2017, but the timing wasn't right for him. And then again, he went on to the NFL. And so this was the right time, and he's super excited. So he and Keela, they're just 2 of the best people that I've ever known. I've great relationships with them for a long time. Both their boys, Chris, their boys, Chris, their oldest, who plays for the Chargers now, grew up with my son. So just a lot of relationships, and he brings a ton of experience, a ton of familiarity with our recruiting footprint. He's from South Carolina, and obviously he knows Clemson. So great addition to both these guys, and we got them out and hit the ground running already. And, as far as timing, obviously the world has changed from a recruiting standpoint in the early signing period and all those type of things. So the timing of it is we needed to get this done now so that we could get these guys on the road and get started and take advantage of some opportunity to create relationships with guys on your current team and so look forward to getting practice started this weekend and starting that process.
Okay, Dabo Sweeney, some of his comments from the conference call today with Mark Stoops as they get ready for the Gator Bowl. And we should give you just a couple of minutes of Brad Brownell since he was the winning coach last night. South Carolina and Clemson, the Tigers win it, and they go to 8-0, and they'll climb in the polls. Of course, they got a tough one with TCU this weekend up in Toronto. Couple of minutes, Brad Brownell following last night's win.
Obviously ecstatic with the win. I thought I thought both teams played really hard. It wasn't one of the prettier basketball games at times, but the competitive spirit by the kids on both teams was really high and will to win. I thought both teams guarded and really bothered each other at times. The game was very physical on both ends. So it was hard to finish some plays around the basket. And, I'm pleased with our guys for finding a way to win more of a defensive type game. We've had some games where we've really shot the ball well and won shooting it. Tonight we won because we guarded better. And, I thought Ian's rebounding late was really good. And we had some timely offensive baskets. Our execution in the second half was better. I thought we were a little just so amped up. We missed some shots around the rim that we sometimes make. And but South Carolina is a very good team. Lamont does a really good job. I hope we don't lose our poise. I talked about that at halftime is just, we're a little amped up. We'll play better in the second half, but we have to sustain defensively. I thought we messed up a couple switches in the first half. It was loud in there, so I think guys couldn't hear all the time. Made a couple defensive mistakes. We were better. I thought we did a pretty good job. They do a lot of different things. They have small lineups. They have big lineups. They post you. They post guards. They can shoot with their bigs when Mac's in the game. We only had a couple of days to really kind of get adjusted to it all. It was a lot for our guys to have to tackle. And I thought we just hung in there and did a better job the longer the game went. And, we kind of just talked about that. We're going to have to really play well defensively because they're a good defensive team. It's hard to score against them. So just, again, it was a great win for us.
All right, there you go. Some Brad Brownell. We'll see if the Tigers can keep it going this weekend. I just noticed here a story about another lawsuit. Lawyers Steve Berman, Jeff Kessler have filed a new suit against the NCAA and the Power 5 conferences. This case, on behalf of 3 athletes, challenges what the complaint calls the NCAA rules prohibiting pay for play. This is by Steve Berkowitz. So, from USA Today Sports. So, let the lawsuits pile up. Pretty soon we'll have 1-800-CALL ME to sue the NCAA. Jim Corbett. Call Jim Corbett to sue the NCAA. Thank you, Chris.
Yes, sir.
And thank you, Pat. Great job. Thanks to everybody here. We'll see you tomorrow night.